Bantam Doubleday Dell Audio Publishing presents LRRP Company Command, the CAV's LRP Rangers in Vietnam, 1968 to 1969, by Kregg P.J. Jorgenson. LRRP Company Command. On October 18, 1968, Captain George Paccerelli was selected to take over the 1st Air Cavalry Division's long-range patrol company. He'd been handpicked for the job because of his impressive military credentials, and because an experienced captain was sorely needed in the position. George Paccerelli was experienced, and his personnel file reflected his skill and ability. He was well-read, spoke several languages, and was working on his first master's degree. He was a husband and father, and best of all, at least to the decision-makers, he was a professional soldier. Paccerelli had 15 years of military experience, 10 of which had been as an enlisted man. He was airborne, Ranger, Special Forces, and Jungle School qualified, and had already served 2 difficult combat tours of duty. He'd earned a uniform full of awards, tabs, and medals in battles in Laos, Cambodia, and the Central Highlands of South Vietnam, long before he arrived in country for his 3rd tour of duty. So when G2, the division-level intelligence arm of the CAV, requested the names of officers qualified to command Company E 52nd Infantry, LRP, at Camp Evans, Lieutenant Colonel Addison D. Davis, the battalion commander of the 2nd of the 7th CAV, submitted Paccerelli's name. After all the interviews had been conducted and the selection made, Davis was the first to let Paccerelli know of the outcome. "Congratulations," Davis announced with a broad grin. "You're the lucky bastard." Until that moment, George Paccerelli had been the battalion's acting S2, intelligence officer, and he was well suited to run the shop. No one appreciated the intelligence officer's slot more than someone who had had to rely on tactical information in combat. The 32-year-old Mustang officer had been temporarily filling the slot until a company command position opened up in one of the battalion's infantry line units, which is where he really wanted to be. Paccerelli was next in line for a combat command, and looking forward to it. However, division headquarters had other ideas. Echo Company would get priority, but not that it really mattered to Paccerelli. In fact, he was genuinely pleased with the idea and saw it as a plum. The concept of small 5- to 6-man LRRP teams working behind the lines was one of the best ways he knew to beat the Viet Cong and their North Vietnamese commanders at their own game of guerrilla warfare. And with the immense helicopter gunship support the CAV had to offer, he was looking forward to taking command of the Air Mobile Long-Range Patrol Company. There wasn't a veteran Special Forces soldier who didn't subscribe to the logic of Sun Tzu, the ancient Chinese warrior philosopher. If you cause opponents to be unaware of the place and time of battle, you will achieve victory. In his appraisal of the unit, the division staff officer was frank, if not brutal, with Captain Paccerelli. "We've had some problems recently with the LRRP Company, which is why we're bringing you in." The look on his face and the tone of his voice only added weight to his words. "Well, what kind of problems, sir?" asked Paccerelli. The senior officer launched into a dissertation on unsoldierly bearing, moved quickly to low morale, and ended up with what was really the heart of the matter. "There's a question about some of their patrols faking contact to get out of the field." Paccerelli didn't view unsoldierly bearing as a particularly great sin. Occasionally, the same had been said of the best Special Forces operators. But attitudes could always be adjusted, and even ragtag soldiers could usually be cleaned up well enough to pass an inspection. Low morale often went hand in hand with whatever was causing the first problem, and that was not something that necessarily worried the captain. However, the third problem was much more formidable. Paccerelli understood faking it. This was a symptom of something far more serious. Contacts with the enemy compromised the...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?